The only sound in the room was the faint, rhythmic hum of the air conditioner. Then, the digital beep of a phone unlocking. A voice recording began to play. It was Julian's voice. It was smooth, polished, and utterly cold. He was laughing. He said, honestly, it's almost too easy. She's so fragile, she'll believe anything. If I tell her she's having an episode, she'll just go quiet and hide in her room. It's the perfect cover for the transfers. She's not a wife, she's a liability we can manage. The recording cut off with a sharp, clinical click. Silence followed, heavy and suffocating. Hello everyone. Today I'm sharing a story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about wealth and loyalty. What happens when a billionaire's perfect life unravels in one devastating night? This is the story of Elena Vance. And the night she stopped being fragile. The Silver Lining Gala was the event of the season. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen rain from the ceiling, casting a warm, deceptive glow over the city's elite. Elena Vance stood at the edge of the ballroom, her silk gown a shimmering shade of midnight blue. To the guests, she was the picture of grace. And the picture of fragility. They whispered about her delicate nerves, her quiet nature. They saw a woman who needed protection. They didn't see the woman who had spent the last 3 months memorizing every bank statement, every whispered phone call, and every lie. Footsteps approached on the marble floor. Julian's voice was warm, performative. He said, "Darling, there you are. You look lovely. Perhaps a little pale? Are you feeling quite all right?" Elena's voice was soft, controlled. She replied, "I'm fine, Julian. Just a little overwhelmed by the crowd." She smiled. It was a perfect, practiced smile. The kind of smile that hides a razor blade. The room went quiet as Julian stepped onto the stage. He looked every bit the philanthropist. The golden boy of the city. He raised his glass, the light catching the diamonds on his fingers. He looked down at Elena, his eyes filled with a fake, shimmering pity that made her skin crawl. He spoke to the crowd, his voice projecting and charismatic. He said, "Friends, colleagues. Tonight is about more than just charity. It is about resilience. It is about supporting those who, through no fault of their own, find themselves unable to carry the weight of the world. Like my dear, sweet Elena. We all know her struggles, and we all admire her strength in simply being here tonight." Soft, sympathetic murmurs rose from the crowd. A few people even sighed. Elena felt the eyes of 100 people on her. They weren't looking at her with respect. They were looking at her with pity. They saw a broken woman. Julian's words were a cage, built of polite concern and public condescension. He was telling them she was unstable. He was telling them she was nothing. But as he spoke, Elena felt the weight of the tablet in her clutch. The files were ready. The countdown had begun. The transition was supposed to be seamless. A montage of smiling children and rebuilt schools. Instead, the screen flickered. A jagged line of static tore through the image. The crowd gasped. Julian froze, his smile faltering for a fraction of a second. He reached for the podium, his voice tight. He stammered, "Apologies. Technical difficulties. Please, bear with us." But it wasn't a glitch. A loud, digital thud echoed through the hall as the screen changed. The music stopped completely. Total silence. The screen didn't return to the charity photos. Instead, a massive, high-resolution screenshot filled the room. It was a text message thread. The names at the top were unmistakable, Julian and a woman named Chloe. The text was from 3 weeks ago. Julian had written, "The transfers are complete. She's too unstable to notice. We can finally start the nursery fund." A collective, audible gasp rose from the crowd. Someone's chair scraped back violently against the floor. The room exploded. It wasn't just a scandal, it was a public execution. The screen began to cycle through images like a relentless machine. There was a bank statement showing six-figure transfers from the Silver Lining Foundation to a private account in the Cayman Islands. There was a photo of Julian and Chloe laughing on a beach, looking every bit the happy, secret family. And then, the killing blow. The voice recording played through the massive ballroom speakers. Everyone heard Julian's voice say, "She's not a wife, she's a liability we can manage." The room was filled with the rapid-fire sound of camera shutters and the roar of confused, angry voices. Julian was no longer the golden boy. He was a man drowning in the light of 1,000 flashbulbs. He shouted, "Turn it off! Someone turn it off! This is a fabrication! Elena, stop this!" He looked at Elena, his face contorted with rage and terror. But Elena didn't flinch. She didn't cry. She sat there, her hands folded in her lap, watching him crumble with the calm of a predator watching its prey. Julian lunged for the microphone, his movements clumsy and desperate. He was about to scream that Elena had lost her mind, that this was all a hallucination. But a hand caught his wrist. It was a firm, steady hand. It was Marcus, the director of the Silver Lining Foundation. The man everyone thought was Julian's most loyal accomplice. Marcus's voice was deep and resolute. He said, "Enough, Julian. The charade is over. I didn't help you hide the books because I believed in your vision. I helped you because I was afraid. But I'm not afraid of a thief anymore." The crowd went silent. A heavy, expectant stillness filled the room. Marcus turned to the crowd, holding up a thick, physical folder. He didn't need a screen. He had the truth in his hands. He had the real audits. The ones Julian thought had been shredded. The ones that proved the embezzlement wasn't just a mistake, but a systematic theft. He told the crowd, "I have the documents right here. Every cent. Every lie. And I am handing them over to the authorities tonight." The collapse was total. By the time the police arrived, the social hierarchy of the city had already been rewritten. Julian Vance was led out of the ballroom in handcuffs, his head bowed. The golden boy was now a common criminal. The cameras followed him, a relentless swarm of vultures. The charities board was dissolved by morning. The Vance name, once synonymous with prestige, was now a punchline in every tabloid from New York to London. And Elena? She didn't stay to watch the wreckage. She walked out of the ballroom, through the sea of shocked faces, and into the cool night air. She didn't look back at the man who had tried to break her. She didn't look back at the life she had lost. She looked straight ahead, toward a future that was finally, undeniably, her own. Elena sat in her new apartment, the silence a luxury she had never truly known. She was alone, but for the first time in years, she wasn't lonely. She was safe. She reached for her phone, intending to turn it off for the night. But a single notification caught her eye. A message from an unknown number. The phone chimed, and she tapped the screen. A cold, digital voice read the text, "You think it's over, Elena? Julian was just the beginning. We're still watching." Elena stared at the screen. The blue light reflected in her eyes, which remained calm, steady, and sharp. She didn't tremble. She didn't panic. She simply typed a single word back, "Try me." And that's the story. Sometimes justice comes in unexpected ways. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back soon with more incredible stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Until next time.